On a warm summer's day last year, my buddy Omar and I managed to convince the nice people at Irish Distillers to let us inside the Distillers Cottage on the hallowed grounds of the Midleton Distillery. We turned up with a camera crew. We didn't tell them what we were going to talk about. We had half a case of whiskey under our arm that we were bringing to sample in the Distillers Cottage. They didn't ask us any questions. They thought that for some reason was a good idea, and I hope we haven't let them down. We got to sample amazing whiskies that day. I shared some of them in previous episodes, but now I want to share with you two amazing whiskies that we got to try there, two iconic Midleton whiskies that I think you'll enjoy. The first we're going to talk about is Powers John's Lane Edition, and then we're going to finish with a very special Redbreast indeed. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Maybe you've tried these whiskies before. Maybe you've got your own story of the Midleton Distillery, which we'd love to hear. So I hope you enjoy this episode from the Distiller's Cottage in the Old Midleton Distillery. Welcome to Stories and Sips. I'm here in the Distiller's Cottage with Omar from That's Dram Good on social media, on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and we're continuing our journey through amazing whiskies from Midleton, and we're sitting in the beautiful surroundings of the Distiller's Cottage, and we're now going to taste Powers John's Lane release, an amazing release that came out in 2011, and Omar is going to give us some tasting notes. We're going to tell a few stories about this incredible whiskey from Powers. So thanks for continuing on this journey with me, Omar.
Thanks for having me, Barry.
You didn't need much convincing?
Absolutely not. Rubber arm.
Rubber arm. I put a drop in here for you. So this, similar to Barry Crockett, this came out in 2011, and this was the first pot still release from Powers in many, many years. Correct. Am I right?
Yes. Yeah. So Powers had gone to a blend many, many years ago, and this was their first entry back onto the Irish market and the international market as a single pot still. 12-year-old. 46% again, that little magic number.
Sweet spot.
And it has become iconic in the last number of years. There is a cult following behind John's Lane.
There absolutely is.
It has overtaken so many other brands to be the single pot still whiskey. Absolutely fabulous whiskey, and named after its original distillery, the original Powers Distillery in John's Lane, which, as you know, closed in the late 60s when everything amalgamated and came down here to Midleton. But it's a fantastic whiskey. It's welcomed back on the market to great fanfare many years ago, and I think we should have a wee nose and a wee taste.
I think we should. Let's have a little nose. There's that unmistakable pot still.
Very light, leathery kind of a nose there. Very, very light.
A little biscuity.
There's so many layers to this as well.
So this is aged in its ex-bourbon barrel, first fill bourbon, I think, Oloroso sherry.
Correct.
Iberian, I think some Iberian oak.
Yeah, Spanish. So Spanish sherry.
Spanish
sherry casks, which you can see from the colour. It's a little bit darker than the Barry Crockett we tried a while ago.
Very different to the Barry Crockett.
Very different, and that's from the sherry influence.
Yep.
Much sweeter influence there. Lots of vanilla, bit of dark chocolate. Whereas the Barry Crockett is something that you'd have savoured over the hour.
Yeah.
This is something you could easily drink.
You could put this on your cornflakes in the morning.
Oh, big time, yeah. A breakfast whiskey, as Ivor Dean would say.
Drink in moderation.
And responsibly.
I love the story of Powers, and it's got such a place in the heart of so many Irish, and now that an international audience is getting to try it is amazing. But if you go back 100 years or 200 years, it was mostly an international audience that was tasting Powers. In fact, back then the Irish could barely afford Powers as it would have come out. And so Powers, the original formula, would have been a pot still formula, a little bit heavier, earthier than we're tasting today. But this is a throwback and kind of recognition.
Yes.
Of that original pot still
recipe.
Going
back to the original recipes. Maybe not as much trad pot and heavy pot that you would have had back then, but it's still throwing you back to that era. If you taste some of the older Powers, the late 50s, and so it's very close to this. So they have matched it up quite well.
Would they have had access to sherry casks back then?
They would have.
They would
yeah,
have.
They would have. Maybe not as the quality that we have today, and because of the wood program that Irish Distillers have, but they would have access.
And what about bourbon? Would they have used bourbon back then, or would they would have as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's to be imported from the States. Powers for a lot of people, like my grandfather drank Powers.
Yeah.
So
everyone
has a little connection to Powers. Somebody in their family drank it at some stage. It was a bottle that was on the shelf. It was a bottle that probably was only given to good visitors.
Yeah.
Or the man himself drinking it, or the woman herself drinking it. But it was the whiskey inside the house at one stage.
Irish coffees on a Sunday is what I remember.
Yes.
Parents sipping away after a roast.
Absolutely.
You'd hear the cork twist or the screw cap.
Yes.
Back then.
And when Irish coffees were invented in Foynes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the date and it escapes me.
Early 50s, I think, was it?
Was it 58?
I think 58.
Of course, Foynes was an airport basically for flying boats, and when an airplane turned around one night and came back late at night, one of the local chefs decided to come up with the Irish coffee and gave it to the people when they came off. They were cold, miserable. They loved it. It was a Powers Irish coffee. And that was taken back to the States. And as we know, the Buena Vista in California now uses it as if it's their own.
That's right.
So Powers is probably one of the best whiskies that you can use for an Irish coffee, personally speaking, because it's such a robust character. It comes through the coffee and beats through the coffee. It's just a fabulous whiskey. Now, I wouldn't be using John's Lane for Irish coffee.
No, we wouldn't.
But it's a great whiskey to sip.
It's fantastic. It's so easy to drink. It's such a. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have that necessarily complexity of a Barry Crockett, but that's not what we're looking for here. And it's a younger whiskey, but it's definitely a Powers. There's no doubt about it.
Big time.
Yeah,
big time Powers.
Absolutely a Powers. Should we sit here? So do we finish the bottle? Will we?
Done. No problem.
Sláinte.
Sláinte, man.
Welcome to Stories and Sips. Omar and I are here in the Distillers Cottage and we are sampling some seriously good whiskies here in Midleton. We've got two in front of us that happen to be the most sought after Irish whiskies on the market today, I think, and maybe two of the best whiskies on the market today. The two Redbreast Dream Casks, the most recent of which is the 20-year-old Redbreast Dream Cask Pedro Jimenez finish. And Omar has brought the 32-year-old purely for comparison. Apparently we can't open this because otherwise his retirement will be sad and
yes, that's
unsatisfying. So this is being held for retirement. But we are going to taste the Redbreast Dream Cask 20-year-old, which was only released like 2 months ago. Yeah. Sold out, all 900 bottles sold out in 14 minutes.
14 minutes according to IDL, but my screen capture would say 12 minutes.
12 minutes by Omar's clock.
I was trying to buy 2 bottles and unfortunately I only got 1.
You only got 1. I only got 1 too, and I'm going to open it right here. So we are going to try this, and tell us a little bit about the history of this Dream Cask initiative. How long ago did this start?
So the Dream Cask came about in 2017.
Okay.
For World Whisky Day.
Oh yes.
So for World Whisky Day, Irish Distillers decided that they would release a bespoke tasting sample.
Yep.
So they asked people to enter. I wasn't blogging at the time.
I
was into my whiskey, but I wasn't blogging. So I entered and I got selected. Among several other people. I think it was 100 at the time. And we all got 100 ml sample out. So we didn't know what it was until the day. And on the day they did a live stream tasting on Facebook. We all joined in. Billy Lighton and Dave McCabe led the tasting. We were all asked to give our opinion on it, and the lads then told us what it was, which at the time was a 31-year-old Redbreast with a slightly higher ABV. So we tasted it and it was absolutely phenomenal. There's no two ways about it. There's no other way to describe it. It was mouth-warming.
Incredible.
It was incredible. So afterwards, one of the questions that were asked of Billy was, well, are you going to bottle it?
When did we get it?
And Billy's response was, you better start heckling marketing to try and do it. And heckle we did. So eventually, a year later, we got the release of the Dream Cask 32-year-old.
That's right,
so
okay.
A year older, a little bit slightly less ABV, obviously, because of the angel shale over the year. But still an absolutely phenomenal whiskey. My 100ml sample, I devoured it in 2 days. I just couldn't stay away from it.
You need a knife and fork to drink it. It's that you chew it. It's amazing, incredible. And the colour of that, 32 years is, I mean, it's absolutely insane. Phenomenal. The colour of that.
So once that sold out in a couple of hours, there was a couple of glitches on the website last year. So it took about 6 hours or so to sell out because the website crashed because obviously demand was so much. Yeah. €500 a bottle, excellent value for what you're getting. But it sold out, so obviously this year they thought that they'd come up with something different. And what they came up was with a 20-year-old dream cask, which is finished in Pedro Jimenez casks. Now, for a lot of people, they'll think, what's the big deal about PX casks? Well, here in Midleton, where we are at the moment, it's mostly Oloroso sherry.
Yes.
There is nothing else released with PX cask. This is it.
This is
the
it.
First one.
The Midleton release of Pedro Jimenez.
The Midleton release. And it has drastically changed the whiskey. It's different. Not different bad, different amazing.
So you've tasted this already.
Yes,
I've not tasted it. I think we should pause for the pop of the cork, because
absolutely.
this is a seminal moment in the... Lovely.
Fabulous.
Didn't break. Good sign. Okay, let me pour a drop in here. Pour a drop in here. A drop went on the table. We can lick that up later.
Wouldn't be the first time.
I'm excited to try this. Already I can see the difference between this and the 32-year-old in terms of colour.
Yes.
There's a more ruby redness to this one.
Correct.
Is that coming from the Pedro Jimenez cask?
Cask, yes.
It's a much heavier sherry note to this than the 32-year-old.
Big time. The 32, if I say, is a little bit more refined, whereas this is really bold notes. So you're getting the nuttiness, especially from the Oloroso casks, and you're getting a great sweetness, which is coming from the PX.
It's just telling you straight away, this is sherry.
Oh, this is
absolutely
sherry.
This is sherry here.
Oh, big time, yeah. Big hit of sherry.
Oh wow. What's the ABV on this? This is 52.2. You don't need a drop of water with this.
No water needed whatsoever.
No.
Now a little bit of water does make certain notes pop.
Yeah.
Because I tried it with and without water, just a small little drop. But the little drop does help.
Yeah.
A little bit. But I mean a drop.
Right.
I'm using a pipette.
Little pipette, yeah.
But if you look at the legs on it, fabulous legs. Real oily mouth coating. Again, you could chew through this.
So I've never tasted Pedro Jimenez finish on any whiskey until just right now. Actually, the one I tasted was a Dingle, Ash's restaurant with Pedro Jimenez finish. That was the first time.
And very similar notes. You get the notes from PX, because PX has a massive influence.
Yeah.
And the one thought I had with this whiskey when it first came out was that the PX would overtake everything. And in fairness, Billy and Dave have done a fantastic job with it. As you probably know, it's 4 different casks.
Yes.
Funnily enough, one of these casks was laid down the same week as the 32-year-old. So 1985. So there's a 33-year-old whiskey in this.
That's incredible.
Married in. So they married in 4 casks, one of which was a PX cask. They married them together and then they finished them in a PX cask. Right. But they were able to draw back that PX influence so that it wasn't overpowering. It's not too sweet. You're still getting loads of nuts from the Oloroso. You're still getting the pot still spice. And it's a wonderfully blended whiskey. And it's a testament to Billy at the end of the day.
Absolutely is. And a testament to this new, I guess, high level of, there's a high bar to reach now with the name Dream Cask of what it has to be. And I think a big chance was taken by releasing a whiskey that was 12 years younger by age statement. The second year after the 32-year-old, but I think it's delivered. This is it's a vastly different whiskey, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Different is good. Different is good. Yeah.
Different
to your first point.
Mean that it's bad. Different is good, and in this case, it's excellent. My worry, of course, is, and I said this to Billy only on the steps of this cottage last year. How are you going to make a dream cask as good as the 32?
Yeah.
And he's delivered. And now I'm wondering, how are they going to make a third dream cask? Because I presume one is going to come.
Well, we let him worry about that, and we'll drink it.
Done.
Sláinte.